Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, August 14th. No significant impacts today and nothing too critical the next couple of days. We will have a belt of strong winds here across southern Idaho, across the Snake River Plain Thursday and Friday, gusts of 25 to 30 miles per hour, but humidity levels will be above our critical 15% threshold that we normally look at, and fuels, especially the further east you go towards Wyoming, are still fairly moist. There'll be some winds also gusty here across eastern Utah. We'll have to watch that a little bit. Fuels are moist now, but they're drying out pretty rapidly. We have to see how they match up by the time we get into Friday. No significant precipitation on the left, nor any significant lightning on the right, other than two strikes here in southeast Utah. Initial attack fairly light, just a handful of fires through here, new fires in the red, existing fires recently in the yellow. Observed precipitation over the past 7 days. We've had our most significant rainfall up towards northeast Nevada and the southern sawtooths of Idaho into the Oahes, and also some moderate amounts in the mountains of central Idaho and the higher terrain of Utah. This is winding down. See percent of normal on the right-hand side. Interesting take, we'll look at the monsoon so far, which typically starts in early July and through early August. I'll focus here on the right-hand side in terms of percent of normal. The red shades are basically less than 10% or less than 25% of normal, and the orange shades are less than 50%. So you can see a good portion of southeast Utah, the Arizona Strip, and especially southern Nevada, are anywhere from 10% to less than 50% of normal monsoonal moisture, and that's significant that the fuels there are drier than they normally are, and also significant, as we'll see later on, that there is no threat of monsoonal moisture for the next 2 weeks, which really takes us towards the end of the monsoon season. See ERCs here in our southern areas on the rise, and basically on the rise everywhere, drying on out, particularly dry here in southeast Idaho. Our 10-hour fuels have dried out. Those only take a day or so, and they are in the critical 3 to 4% range over at least the southern half of the Great Basin, and borderline critical here in the pink, so those respond pretty quickly. A look at some of our southern area PSA is quite interesting. The Southwest Desert, you can see the ERCs are at the 85 percentile and definitely above the normal line here in the gray, halfway between normal and record. Similar story here in southeast Utah. ERCs rising towards the 85 percentile. Same thing here in the Arizona Strip and in Canyonlands area. Looks like definitely getting between normal and record levels, and that trend is only going to continue for the coming days because there really is no deep monsoonal moisture. There is a high pressure in place, but the monsoonal moisture is pretty far to the south because we have a pretty good broad zonal flow to the north, which is shearing that off, and we'll have to watch the approach of this low pressure area. Could bring some winds in a few days. For today, not much high pressure overhead, just a seasonally warm, dry day. Fire potential on the right. You can see those dry humidity levels in the single digits across the southern areas, both of Nevada, Arizona Strip, and Utah, and into the low to mid-teens further north. Winds on the left-hand side fairly light. Some gusts may be into the low 20s here across the eastern Snake River Plain. On Thursday, similar story. There's zonal flow through here. There'll be some, where these height lines are a little tighter, there'll be some winds, but in this black area, slightly higher humidity than areas further south. Our fire potential on the right slowly starting to dry out. Again, similar, very dry humidity levels from south to north. Winds, starting to see some shades of orange here. These are gusts in the upper 20s to near 30, from Twin Falls to Idaho Falls. Slightly less in towards the Elko area. And then on Friday, as a dry cold front does push further south, we may see some more winds through here. Our dryness levels here. You can see this broad area of orange across eastern Utah and into the Snake River Plain. These will be gusts of 30 miles per hour. Humidity levels will be dry here. The fuels will be borderline critical. We'll have to evaluate to see if they'll dry out enough for fire activity, but with lighter, flashier fuels there, that is a possibility. But you can see higher humidity levels up here in Idaho behind the front above 20%. So with those winds, we don't think we'll see anything too critical further north. No precipitation of significance the next 3 days. And quickly down the road, still dry. So we go into Saturday, Sunday, Monday. See a deep trough pushing on in, and by Tuesday that trough Well, this moisture is well up to the north towards the Gulf of Alaska, but we are on the drier southern side, and this is the start of the season where we get stronger fall-type systems pushing into British Columbia, sometimes the northern Rockies. We get dry and windy, but even by a week from today or 6-7 days from now, no semblance of monsoonal moisture. So everyone dries out. You can see the areas in brown expanding across most of our southern areas, and in the yellow in the north. No significant precipitation expected for the 7-day period. And for the 8 to 14 day, taking us from August 21st to the 27th, a drier than normal signal for much of our area. So no sign of monsoonal moisture, temperatures above normal. So we'll be returning to critically dry fuels to a lot of areas, and any wind events that come through will pose the possibility of some high risk for large fire. That's our briefing. Have a great day.